Hi, my name is Chibundu Onuzo. I'm the author of The Spider King's Daughter, Welcome to Lagos, and Sankofa, which is forthcoming in June in the UK, October in the US, and later on in the year in Nigeria. Okay, so today's video is going to be about how to pitch to newspapers and magazines. So I've been writing for The Guardian since I was 21. This is The Guardian in the UK, and I've been doing it for about roughly 9 years now. Do the math, guess my age. So yes, I'm just going to share some tips, I think, on how you can get into writing for newspapers and magazines. And The Guardian isn't the only publication I've written for, but I've written for them sort of consistently most years since I was 21. So first of all, I'm going to tell you the story of how I started writing for The Guardian. So a long time ago, let's start with story. Once upon a time, when I was 21, I was nominated for an award. It was run by Rare Rising Stars, which is a recruitment agency, and it was cool. It was like the Black Student of the Year award, and a distinguished panel of judges judged me the #1 Black student in the UK that year, and it was such an honor. It was a massive, sort of very swanky sort of award ceremony at the Houses of Parliament, and the great and good of the land were assembled, and I was sort of presented with this award. Now, one of the people in attendance was the man who would become my editor, Joseph Harker, and we got talking at the award ceremony. Obviously, I'd been given this award, so people were coming up to me to say, well done, congratulations, etc. And so he comes up to me and says, oh, I'm Joseph Harker. He introduces himself. I'm an editor at The Guardian. Would you like to write for The Guardian? And I say, would I like to write for The Guardian? Yes, I would like to write for The Guardian. So he was like, okay, send me an email. And so I took his email address and I took his card. And when I got home that evening, I was like, is this for real? Like, is this actually how people write for The Guardian? Please, the whole Guardian UK that I'm seeing online. So, I took his email address, and then I was like, you know what? And kudos to 21-year-old Chibundu. I was like, you know what? Give it a shot. This guy has, he's given you his contact. Use it. So I sent him an email saying, well, yeah, it was great to speak to you earlier. And I sent him that night as well. If you get a contact, this is another tip. Use it immediately before they forget who you are. So I sent him an email. Thanks for giving me your contact. This is that and the other. And then I said, yes, I'd love to write for The Guardian. And most importantly, here are some samples of my writing. So at this point, I'd had a blog for about 2-3 years at that point. So I had samples of my writing to show him. So he read the samples, picked one that he thought would make a strong news piece, and then helped me to sort of extend that piece from like a 500-word blog post to like, The Guardian sort of article length, which is between roughly maybe like 800 to 1,000 words. Helped me to extend it, showed me how to do it, or rather gave me tips, and then I went away and did it. And literally maybe like 2 weeks or 3 weeks after I met him, I was published in The Guardian, and I had a story in print and online in The Guardian. And I just remember thinking, wow, like film trick. And whenever I would tell the story, I would always say, it was just like film trick. I just met this guy. Next thing he said, oh, let's come and write for The Guardian. But actually, when I thought back on the story, it wasn't just like film trick, because I had a blog. Which brings me to my first point on tips on how to pitch to newspapers and magazines. Have a portfolio of your writing. Okay, have something to show people when you pitch. It's very difficult to say, oh, I think I'm a great writer. I have this idea and I want to write for you. And the person says, okay, let me see a sample of your work. And you don't have a sample to show. Now, building a portfolio of your writing may mean that at the beginning stages, you have to write for free. And the thing is, now I don't like free labor. Even then, I don't like free labor. But think of it as building a portfolio, as building a calling card to show people this is what I do, and this is what I do, to just advertise your work as it was. So you can do this in a myriad of ways. I had a blog. You can also try and write for blogs with high traffic, so it doesn't have to be your own personal blog. Websites with high traffic. So I know a lot of people who started off as writers. They started off writing on sites like Bella Naija, sites that have just basically high footfall to get your profile out there. Now there's also sites like Medium. It just means that you have something to show when you pitch, so you can say, yeah, this is what I can do. This is a sample of my work. And also when you pitch, show relevant material. So for example, if I'm pitching for a book review, there's no point sending a blog post I wrote about I don't know, the latest lipstick I bought. So it's not going to match. You want to show something that shows that I can write in this area, I can write on this topic. The next thing I would say, this seems pretty obvious, but the next thing I would say is read the news. So if you want to write comment pieces, opinion pieces, if you want to comment on what is in the news, what is topical, you need to actually know what is topical. But the second thing I would say about this is don't always go for the big stories when you pitch. This is another thing that I've discovered sort of in my years of writing for The Guardian, and this is something that my editor will always tell me, don't always go for the marquee, like the big name stories, because the truth is, everyone wants to write about Brexit, okay? Everyone wants to have something to say about Brexit. And so if you're only pitching to comment or pitching to talk about sort of the big ticket items, and competition for those sort of topics, it is high. Everybody's going for those topics. So one thing that I sort of learned is to look for the news stories, but the news stories that are sort of like at an angle. They're not sort of like mainstream. So I remember writing one on sort of space exploration and sort of a trip to Mars. I've written about sort of my family. I've written sort of more personal pieces, but sort of try to think about, and I've tied sort of my family stories to sort of like a wider news story and sort of try to fit them together. But try to think about an angle, so basically don't always go read the news, but don't always think that you only have to sort of gravitate towards the big stories. Another thing that my editor always tells me when I pitch ideas to him is think about, why do they want to hear from you? Why does whoever is reading The Guardian or whoever is reading this article, why do they want to hear from you? So for example, things that I've used to sort of distinguish myself, I use this thing, Taya. So, I was the youngest woman ever to be signed by my publisher, Favor and Favor. So I have used that thing, Taya, in pitches, as the youngest woman, as a young writer, find out what your specific viewpoint, what makes your specific viewpoint exciting. So as a millennial, as a Gen Z social media influencer, whatever it is, however you want to package yourself, look, it is packaging. But find out the reason why people say, oh, this is an interesting person, I want to hear their opinion, or I want to hear what they have to say. So it's just, and it's packaging really. Just look for the thing that you can package yourself. Look for those details, basically. And the last thing I would say is shoot your shot. So after you have built the portfolio of your writing, after you have read the news and sort of picked some stories that may not be the big ticket items, but some stories that you think you can add sort of an interesting perspective to, after you've sort of thought about what makes you unique, what makes you stand out, after you have done all this background, shoot your shot. And in the digital age, it is so easy to shoot your shot these days. So easy. Literally, you can follow journalists on Twitter. You can follow journalists on Instagram. You can send people DMs. You can look up. You can go on LinkedIn. Like, you can find people, editors at the Sunday Times, editors at the Guardian, and even a lot of these newspapers also have sort of forward-facing email addresses that they say, oh, if you want to contact us, send an email to this. And there are people that check them. There are interns that check them. So shoot your shot. And be specific when you shoot your shot. So don't just say, hey, I'm a writer, I want to write for you. Say, I want to write about XYZ. This is my experience. This is my expertise. This is why I think you need to hear from me. This is why my perspective is unique. This is why my perspective is fresh. Sort of all these ideas. And yeah, basically, those are the 4 tips that I would say are really helpful and really useful when you think of how to pitch to newspapers and magazines. So good luck, guys. And yeah, happy pitching. Bye.